gentlemen, and welcome to the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world show made for the fans by a fan. I am your host, as always, Richard Team, and this is the award-winning Fan Show. Thank you all for joining me on this Tuesday. It is one of the busiest days of the week here in Fan Show Land. That might actually be like a really good idea for a theme park now that I think about it. How is it that in like the first 3 minutes of the show, first 30 seconds of the show, I can say something that I've said probably 100 different ways, but it's that 101 way that I say it that suddenly sparks this, creative prowess. You know how like your best ideas happen in the least convenient time, like right before you're ready to go to bed. You're going to get a full 8 hours of sleep. Even if you fall asleep in the next 15, 20 minutes, you're guaranteed that 8 hours. You're going to wake up ready to take on like your busiest day of the week. But then your brain says, yeah, that's cute. It's cute. You think you're going to sleep right now. No, remember all those hypothetical things that we thought of that one time? We're going to revisit those right now. Ready? Go! Or you're in the shower or bathrooming in some way. That's a new term I'm coming up with, bathrooming. But point is, your best ideas come up at the most random times. Fan Show Land, though. A theme park for the fans. And it would be quite the collection of different things. You'd have, your football, your nonsense. And you'd have your wrestling, your mechanics, robotics, your pop culture, your music, and your outdoors. I still am banking on the hope that I can become famous enough with the show that I can create the Fan Show restaurant, food and nonsense. And that would be, just think of the decor. Everything that we cover here on the Fan Show, on the walls, I would like to even have like a miniature ring in the corner, maybe have like midget wrestling on Friday nights. Like that would be awesome. But you could step into the ring, you could do like a photo op with the fan belt, and you could get like a free dessert, and there would just be all this memorabilia everywhere. I mean, I'm outgrowing my studio, right? So all the stuff, signed footballs or things, knickknacks that I've gotten over the years from different events, I could put in the restaurant. Yes, food and nonsense, the Fan Show restaurant. And man, it would have the greatest menu, because I'll tell you right now, priority number one, and this was when I was going to school for my business degree to open up a sports bar. Why this isn't on menus around the world, across the country, is a mystery to me. Appetizer, you only need one plate o' bacon. All right, just a plate of frickin' bacon, and you can order it like a steak. You can have it either like kind of rare, medium rare. If you want it burnt, get out. I don't need you. I don't want you in my restaurant. Okay, if you like a well done steak, we're not friends. I'm not kidding. Like, if I communicated that clearly enough to you. Anyway, theme park or restaurant, we'll see where the Fan Show goes. But seeing a lot of stuff in groups on Facebook. Hit us up to join our team for the 2019 season, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I understand the purpose of those, and people will ask me, hey, are you? Because, I mean, it's really a one-man show. I do have a small team of writers who I appreciate. Brandon, who is my fantasy guru, does amazing stuff. We've got a new article coming up tonight for you. Mr. Video Guy, Rich Bauer, who does a weekly recap, has really been able to express himself through the Fan Show. Jeff Simon, who's my editor, he takes in the articles and he looks through them, and then I'll do the occasional piece, but then I do the show. So it's something that the show must go on. The show will go on, whether I have like a team or not. You guys know what I'm about. If you want to be a part of this, if you want to be a part of something special, there are so many ways to get a hold of me. So I don't feel I need to blast groups or social media saying, hey, join our team, because you guys know what this is about. You guys know that the Fan Show world will continue to spin and life goes on with or without, a team of 10, 20, 30. It doesn't matter, because the show is still here, and the show is still the brand in sports and entertainment as far as the indoor leagues, arena leagues, and everything eclectic out there. Music, wrestling, BattleBots. This is the place to be. So if you want to be part of this, you know how to reach me. Anyway, Got a lot of stuff to cover, and I just killed 5 minutes ranting about random things. But, that's a typical Tuesday, right? Today's episode is a very special one because, as you'll hear with headlines, we are up to full speed ahead, no looking back, quarter of the way through the NFL season. That is what the time between week 4 and week 5 means, that we have started to see who the contenders and pretenders are, and a lot of questions that will be answered in the weeks to come. Some weeks, have posed more questions rather than answers. Answers we thought we had, but now we're wondering, and we'll talk about that as well. But in the indoor world, indoor, free agency frenzy, special guest tonight, one of the first big signings in the IFL, is Connor Hollenbeck, formerly of Cedar Rapids. They were the Titans. They are now the River Kings. He will be a Barnstormer for 2019. So he will be joining me in a little bit. But with that, before I get too winded, let's do them. Let's do it. The headlines. Here we go. Headlines, of course, brought to you by Dynamite Enterprises. Ethan and I are discussing the idea of doing a breast cancer awareness thing. It is October. It's the second day of October. I completely forgot what it is that October means. October is always that month that sneaks up on you, and I think it's because October officially means fall. Like, the first day of fall is at the end of September, but it's like your summer is June, July, August, and you want it to go all the way through most of September. But October, it's like there's no denying fall is here. And with fall comes football, campfires, bonfires, drinking, more football, fallen leaves, hoodies, and, of course, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So we did a thing last year with merch where 15% went to Susan G. Komen. I'd like to do some special, though, shirts exclusively for that purpose. So if you're a woman or know a woman in your life, whether they've been affected by breast cancer or know someone who has, we're looking to do maybe some pink V-necks with the Fan Show's logo or some black or gray V-necks with a pink logo. Let us know, though. We'll take orders for them, and we'll print out the appropriate number. 15% of all shirts sold will go to Susan G. Komen. It's a great foundation and one I am more than happy to give some money to in order to help their breast cancer research. So me and Dynamite Enterprises, once again, working together to better the world, support local, support businesses, do what you got to do. But hit them up if you want to customize your world and do something special like that as well. First up on the docket for headlines, I am no longer winless in Fan versus Fan Show Pick'em. I repeat, I got one in the win column. Oh, man. It wasn't easy either, I tell you. So we both picked the Lions. Granted, Mark Istook is a Cowboys fan, and I texted him after the Cowboys lost, spoiler alert, or they won, and I said, you should have picked your Cowboys. And but the three that we were different on was the, what was that first game that we were different on? Oh, the Patriots and Dolphins. I thought maybe that the Patriot that game was going to go differently. We'll get to that in a second. The next one was the Browns and the Raiders, and this one I felt incredibly 50-50 on, like coin flip-ish, right? And it went to overtime, and I'm like, if this game ends in a tie, I'm going to flip a table. Like, no joke. Like, no more ties, especially another one for the Browns. Like, what is one tie doesn't do you any good? What is two ties going to do you? But then the third and final one would be the Ravens and the Steelers. I got 2 out of 3 of them. I think I went 3 and 2, and he got 2 for 3, or 2 and 3. So I am in the win column. I've beat one of the longest friends of the Fan Show ever, Mark Istook of NFL Network. He gets himself a consolation prize, though, of a official Fan Show official T-shirt as part of Team Fan Show. So congratulations, Mark. I am now 1 and 2 on the season, so very excited to be moving forward now with a win. No Le'Veon Bell update, according to Mike Tomlin. Big surprise there. Move on, I guess. There'll be an update when there's an update. On that same note, though, Earl Thomas, his season is over. the man who held out. He wanted a more guaranteed contract in case of the event of an injury, and that happens. He skips practices. He would show up late to meetings. He still went out there and played, and he gets a lower leg fracture, flips off the Seahawk bench on his way back in the tunnel in Arizona. You know, you hate guys that hold out because you know that it doesn't benefit anyone on the team except for themselves. But then something like that happens, and all of a sudden we get it. And I'm not saying that he's the good guy or the bad guy in this. I'm just saying that there are two sides to every story, okay? And as fans, we only usually get to see one side because the media tells us which side to really believe. The NFL is usually pretty good about giving us both sides, you know, because they do a lot of debate shows, and with debates you get a lot of the two sides. But when it comes to players and contracts, look, I'm all for them getting paid what their worth is, however you calculate that, and then to make sure that they're taken care of in the event of something like this. Now, you don't want to be a team that just drops a huge dime on a big contract and then the player gets hurt shortly after, which in the team's defense and the front office's defense is a big concern. But, you know, he's in the last year of his contract. He's going to be a free agent next year. He's not ever going to be the same Earl Thomas that he was before this injury. Just like his last injury, he wasn't the same Earl Thomas as he was before that. You're never the same after an injury, and it will have a significant impact on your stock value as a free agent. So I feel for him. I really do. I'm a Niners fan, and that man has tormented our offense for the last decade. And I feel for him. I really do wish they would have come to some kind of agreement. But now he's not going to get traded. He's going to finish out the year as a Seahawk. Will he retire? Will he move on? It's not going to be whatever it could have been. You know, coulda, woulda, shoulda, if. And that's where Earl Thomas is. Rams and Chiefs remain unbeaten. We're down to 2. That's right. The Dolphins got dealt their first loss by the Patriots. It was in Foxborough, so you kind of saw it coming. Patriots already had 2 losses on the season going into week 4. It's like, really? 1 and 2? Okay. So the Dolphins, man, they got stomped. This thing was a blowout up until the very end when the Dolphins finally got on the board. But this is a game the Dolphins will need to win if they're going to be a serious contender for, 1, the division, and 2, for playoffs. Like, I don't see another legitimate wild card team out there right now in the AFC except for the Dolphins. I really don't. The Chiefs are probably going to run away with the West, and then you've got the North, which is an absolute mess right now. But the Bengals, there they are. They sit atop because the Bengals went toe-to-toe with the Falcons, and the Falcons suffer yet another last-minute loss. It's like, you talk about Raiders not being able to go 4 quarters. The Falcons can't go 60 minutes. They go 59 and a half. They can't go the whole 60. It's crazy. But the Bengals, this is the biggest question mark in the league right now in week 5, is, are they for real? And I don't necessarily think they have to be for real because that division is such a mess. Now, granted, the Ravens did deal the Steelers a convincing loss in Pittsburgh, and that rivalry is nothing to mess with. But the Ravens, they are going to be right there. Are they wild card worthy? Are they division winner worthy? I don't know right now. The Bengals are doing all the talking, and the rest of the division is like, there might be opportunity there, but this is a game of catch-up now. And it's the same way in the NFC West. You've got a 4-0 Rams team, and the rest have 2 or 1 wins. The Cardinals don't have any. And so everybody isn't just a game behind and just like, oh, next week could change everything. No, you're a couple of games behind, and the Rams don't show any signs of stopping. The Rams, their next opponent, you guessed it, Seattle. Like, they could put one of a few nails in this coffin if they go into Seattle and sweep the leg. Plain and simple. Chiefs, though, I told you it was going to be their first real test in Denver, and it was. Mahomes comes back. There were some questionable calls. I don't know how I feel about this game, but they have an even tougher test against Jacksonville. I think Mahomes is legit, but I don't think he's the hottest freaking thing out there since, like, Brett Favre, Tom Brady, or Peyton Manning. Like, just pump the brakes a little bit. Like, he has so many options on offense, including not 1 but 2 great running backs. It's hard to stop an offense that has all their guys and they're all healthy. The Bengals could be that, but now they lost Eifert. John Ross has stepped up, Washington product, so he's going to be out there, and that's great for him. But the Rams and Chiefs, that's it. Dolphins, though, I really don't think there's another legitimate wild card team out there unless you want to count either the Ravens or the Bengals right now. That could very well be how it is, because the Bills, they're not doing shit. They're not. In fact, the Packers made a point to pound the Bills, and it makes you wonder about, is this going to be one of those teams that it's like they lose the games that they're expected to win and then win the games that they're expected to lose? I don't know. I don't think they were favored in this one by any means, but the Packers, man, they put the hammer down in a big way. So the Packers, nothing to worry about there, but they're probably in one of the tougher divisions as of right now, because surprisingly the Bears lead the pack. That tie is going to haunt the Packers until they play the Bears again. And unless something else happens with the Bears, because the Bears bucked the Bucks. I mean, that was ugly. Jameis Winston now will get the start at quarterback over Fitzmagic, because we all saw it coming. Fitzmagic has run out in Tampa Bay. But it doesn't look like it's Wizard Winston anytime soon, because it was still ugly when he came in at the half. Cowboys squeaked by the Lions, as we already mentioned, and then the Texans and the Raiders got their first win of the season. 42-42 was the score going into halftime, and it seriously looked like this could end in another tie between the Raiders and Browns. If you score over 10 points, it should not end in a tie. Just plain and simple. Like, I mean, if it's nine points apiece, 6 field goals amongst the two teams, you both deserve to tie. You don't you both deserve to lose, really. But if you score 42, there needs to be a winner in that. Luckily, it was the Raiders, who will get a field goal. 45-42 is your total. Baker Mayfield's first official start is spoiled by Gruden, who needed to get one in the win column, but he's got a lot of legwork. Again, a division where there's a team that is undefeated, and you're playing catch up now, and you can't be in a position where you have to rely on other teams' mistakes. You just can't. Let's see. Late mistake cost the 49ers. Beathard with 4 minutes left, and they stopped the Chargers on defense. This game was really going for the 49ers. And then one crucial mistake. It was a tipped ball, picked off, and but Beathard's tough as nails. I like the kid, so I'm not complaining too much. But it was a tough loss. They have Arizona this week, which hopefully is a win for the 49ers. If it's not, then we're in big trouble. Missed tackles, though, plaguing the 49ers as far as on the defensive side of the ball. The Ravens roll the Steelers, as we mentioned. Vikings have dropped their second straight. Early MVP candidates are Goff, Mahomes, Mack, and Kamara. I'd really like to see someone that's not a quarterback win this. Kamara or Mack, I think, would be great picks for MVP. In indoor news, Hollenbeck with the Iowa Barnstormers. He's coming up in a minute. The Cobras re-signed key players, Thomas, Green, and McCullum, just to name a few. The Lions are bringing back Espinoza. IFL League meetings started yesterday. Robert Metz is going from Green Bay to Tucson, his hometown. He's going to play for the Sugar Skulls, one of their first big-name signings in this free agency period, because we are in free agency frenzy for the indoor in-arena leagues, and all your exclusive content and interviews are going to be right here with the Fan Show. And that is going to do it for today's headlines. There might be a few other things that we touch on after I bring Connor on. But without further ado or any more delay, we'll be right back with more of the Fan Show and Connor Hollenbeck right after this. You're listening to the Fan Show, your home for all things football and nonsense. My special guest tonight, Farouk. Farouk, welcome.
He's no expert, but here's the thing. Football and nonsense is what he brings. Sports talk with a twist. It's the Fan Show.
Do you know him as Kevin from the League? It is none other than very funny Steve Ranazisi.
99% of the population doesn't know who I am, but the 1% do. They yell and scream inappropriate things at me in public.
Kyle Ray. Kyle, welcome.
And I was like, wow, I think we just saw the whole Super Bowl, Phyllis. It's like that scene in The Simpsons, like, why rent the movie? I just saw the best part.
Funny man Brad Williams.
Yeah, I'm here. No, I flew in just for your podcast. I've heard about this podcast. I've heard it's fantastic.
It's Mac and Farva, but they are my special guests tonight. Steve Lemmy, Kevin Heffernan.
I was in Mexico for 10 weeks in a Speedo. Like, that was me going to work. I was putting on a Speedo. Farva is the most fun to play, and it was a blast to do that again, to do Farva again.
So then the makeup artist had to put Vaseline on your body,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then put the powdered sugar on top of that. Is your name really Richard Siemens?
Listen live every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night on Spreaker.com or subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and although it seems like it's the most wonderful time of the year as far as being in the full stretch of the MLB, Major League Baseball, and the NFL, we're a quarter of the way through the regular season and hockey is about to start. We cannot forget that this show's bread and butter are the guys of the Indoor and Arena League. It is free agency frenzy time and the first big signing of free agency in the IFL. Joins me now, wide receiver Connor Hollenbeck. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing good, man. Been a while. You joined us for our pregame broadcast at the tailgate for the championship, and you and I actually discussed your future there. It seemed like maybe all the way back then that you were kind of considering your options and where home might be come 2019. And I said, well, you're already, Iowa. The fans love you here, but I feel like you'd be better utilized and more appreciated as a Barnstormer. And of course, there was a lot of question marks surrounding Cedar Rapids with the new ownership, the new front office, the new coach. I mean, pretty much knew everything, including a new name. They're the River Kings now. So I want to hear from you, though. What's it like being a free agent in the world of arena and indoor football?
It was pretty cool because after my first season with Cedar Rapids, I re-signed, right away, basically a month after the season. So I didn't really have time to be a free agent, in the arena spectrum with the other IFL teams. So this year was definitely interesting. I was getting texts from, a lot of different places, getting calls and emails, and I had a lot on my table. So it was really fun. I enjoyed it.
So when you're with one team and the season's over and you're starting to weigh your options, I imagine that there's a number of different factors that play into it. But, for you guys, it's not like the NFL level of free agency where they can offer you all these bonuses and perks and, long-term contracts. So for you personally, because I've heard it from a few other different players that have gone through the free agency process. But for you, what are some of the bigger factors that you need to consider before you sign on that dotted line?
Definitely where you live, I factored into it. And then, I kind of weighed that option to the team that I want to play for. So those were basically my two big factors. So it's like, do I sacrifice one option that might be better, but it's a better team to play for? So that's what I kind of mainly focused on. That's how I made my ultimate decision. I, felt like the Barnstormers were the best team for me to go to right now.
I know that when it comes to this level in these leagues, a lot can be said about the professionalism and the way that things are run, either with the coaching or more specifically the front office. You want to make sure that your checks can be cashed, that you're getting the best for, your time in the league and that you're going to get taken care of. Did Dixie Wooten or John Pettit or anybody have a conversation with you at the championship game to say, hey, we'd love for you to be a Barnstormer, or had they already talked to you beforehand?
Well, every time I go and play Iowa, I loved it there. I love the arena. It's been great playing them every time, and I was talking to Dixie after games, saying good job and just saying, stay in touch, and you really build a good relationship with everybody in the league, so we just kind of built a relationship, and when the free agency hit, we just connected, and that's basically how it went.
Yeah, I remember you and I talking. You're like, I'm feeling Iowa. I'm thinking I'm going to be a Barnstormer. Now, of course, there's a lot that can be left to speculation, but when it comes to weighing your options as far as this team or that team, you consider one, you're now, as far as what kind of an impact you can have on a team now, but also, who's going to be looking out for you and your future, because obviously the ultimate goal for you guys here, unless you've made the decision that you're fine playing in indoor and arena league and being a star here, but is to get to that next level, be it CFL, NFL. When there's a change in ownership and front office and a lot of movement, as a player entering free agency, is that a red flag to you, or is it something that you feel that you could be a part of something special, be it, a new beginning, so to speak?
I played 2 years in Cedar Rapids, and, that's kind of what I was thinking was happening, So after my second year, it was like, do I really want to do that again, or do I want to go to, somewhere where I know is established? I've already played 2 years in the IFL. I get this free agency. I got to, try something new. We went, I loved it there, but we went 1-15 the first year, and then, couldn't really turn it around. So it's like I could stay and take a couple more years, or go to a good team with good background and ownership, and, kind of get this process going a little faster.
If you could pinpoint one thing that sold you on being a Barnstormer, is there one thing that made the decision either final or easier for you?
Just the whole atmosphere, going to Wells Fargo Arena, we didn't have a big turnout in Cedar Rapids. We had great fans, but every time we would go to, the Barnstormers or the Rattlers, it's just the atmosphere that gets you. And the ownership is great there, and they won a championship last year. So in my eyes, that was the best team that I could sign with at the moment.
Yeah, I can see that. I remember, getting some of your reaction and your feedback being at the tailgate. And they are, in my personal opinion, one of the best fan bases out there as far as at this level of the Arena League. And you get that with being around for as long as they have, the flight crew and everybody else. But they really do love their arena football in Des Moines, Iowa. And now you're going to be a part of what I feel is something special, especially, knowing Dixie, his mindset, and he won't rest until he's, gone back to back to back for however many championship runs that he can do. And now you're going to be included in that. Robert Metz, another wide receiver who was with Green Bay, another great fan base. He just signed to be a Sugar Skull, the new expansion team based out of Tucson. Now, of course, his decision sounded like it was strictly based on being able to play in front of his hometown. But for you, it sounds like home is New York, which I've heard rumors that there could be an expansion team for the NAL. But have you ever considered being part of, getting in on the ground floor, as they say, for an expansion team, or is that too risky for a guy like you at this point in your career?
Yeah, you basically hit it right on the head right there. I think it's just too risky at this point. If I was complacent on staying in arena football, playing for my home team would be great and everything. And I would definitely consider doing that. But, I think it would just be too risky at this point.
All right. Well, we got some questions here. James asked on Twitter, he wants to know what you're most looking forward to as far as being a Barnstormer.
Winning a championship. That's what I'm looking forward to the most. We're going to, with all the weapons we have, and the Coach Wooten being 2-time Coach of the Year, he knows how to win championships. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and Dixie, he's a certain type of guy. I don't want to say he's a special kind of guy. I mean, he is a very special kind of guy, given head coach, but it's like you look at the cast of characters around this league or really any other, and each one is so unique and different. But Dixie doesn't shy away from an opportunity to showboat or to be the outspoken one. And I know that you can kind of be a bit more reserved when you're around people, but you also have a personality about yourself, and then you let your talking be done out on the field. Does it kind of take the weight off your shoulders as a player if you have a coach that's outspoken like Dixie?
I think I've had a couple outspoken coaches in my career before, so I guess it's just I'm really looking forward to working with him again. So we'll see how that goes.
Looks like Rich asked who you're looking forward to being matched up, or I guess maybe worried about being matched up against when it comes to the 2019 season. So in other words, your most feared cornerback or defensive back in the league.
It's always fun playing against Keith Brown on the Rattlers. I think me and him match up really well. We have really great battles. So I'm definitely looking forward to that matchup the most. Who am I worried about? I'm not worried about anyone. I just line up and say I'm going to win my battle every time. So whoever it is out there, we always have, we high five and stuff, and we make it competitive and do the best that we can.
Brian asks if you're the kind of receiver that will rehearse an end zone dance, or if you have a go-to one that you're getting ready to debut in 2019.
I have not worked on that yet. But I'm not much of a dancer. Last year I spiked it a lot. So it's honestly whatever comes to mind at that point. That's how I like to do it. Whatever just pops into my head right when I score. That's what I'll pull something out.
Just don't floss. I think that's what it's called. It's that dance.
Yeah, too much. Do that.
Too much.
That's getting old.
Overdone. If you can do the Macarena, I would give you props on that.
I can do that. That's a pretty easy dance.
Throw it back to a classic.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Okay. Danny wants to know if, with this being, what is it now, your third or fourth season in the league, but since you're now a veteran in the league, if you're happy being at this level, or if you're still looking for the opportunity to get to that next step in the CFL or NFL.
Oh, that's always on my mind, is to get to the next level. So I try to, every time I go out there, I, give it my all, just because you never know who's watching, and they can see effort on the film, and I'm trying to get the best stats and get noticed as quick as possible to get to the CFL or NFL.
Yeah, and I heard that Ballantyne was planning on coming back. Of course, nothing official on that front yet. And then there's a big question mark around Brady Rowland. But, I mean, if even Ballantyne or both of those guys come back and it's the three of you, I don't know if a person could, in confidence, name a better wide receiver trio than what Iowa would have. Is that something that you like to have as a good supporting cast on offense?
Yeah, the 2 years I've played in Cedar Rapids, we've had very good receiving cores. And the thing was, it was no veterans. So we were all rookies my first year in Cedar Rapids. And now I get to work with some veterans if they decide to come back. So I think that's big. They can give me a lot of pointers. They're very successful in this league. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I think we are the best if that is the best wide receiver core in my eyes.
All right, and Rob asks if there's a particular NFL team that you would really like to play for, and if you have a Super Bowl prediction at this point in the season.
I do not have a Super Bowl prediction at this point. It's a little too early for that, but what was the first question again?
If there's a particular NFL team that you'd like to get picked up by.
Okay. Well, I'd like to play for the Buffalo Bills because that's, been my favorite team growing up. And, it's close to home, so that's kind of the hometown team. But I'd really be grateful for any NFL team. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I'm actually a fan of them I started becoming a fan when they were in the Mike Allstott era, and, they had some really good players on that team. So just probably Buffalo and Tampa Bay. Those would be my two picks.
Buffalo, and it's weird that you say Buffalo because there's three teams in New York. I mean, you could say technically one is Buffalo and the other two are Jersey, but I mean, you're picking like the lowest rung on the ladder there as far as how things look for 2018. So is there something against the Jets and the Giants here?
I'm just a loyal Bills fan.
There you go.
New York. Western New York. They get Bills fans are the greatest, so I'm a loyal Bills fan. I like watching the Jets and the Giants, but when it comes to rooting for a team, I root for the Bills.
It's funny that you say that. It's like a light dawned on me as you were describing why. And as soon as you spend a few pre-games or post-games with the flight crew, if you ever got signed by Buffalo, you'd be like, wow, this really seems familiar, because the fan bases, they're both equally as crazy, and I love those guys to death. But hey, Connor, I am looking forward to watching you play and be somewhere that I know that you're going to be well received, appreciated, and a superstar. And where better than to don the goggles of the Iowa Barnstormers. So thank you for giving me your time here after the big announcement yesterday. He is Connor Hollenbeck, now of the Iowa Barnstormers, looking to repeat in the IFL. So, Connor, you have a great rest of your night, and I'm sure that we'll talk again real soon.
You too. I appreciate it.
All right, Connor Hollenbeck, you take care, man. Oh, always great to talk to these guys and sort of pick their brains about, the little things that maybe they don't get asked too much. But Buffalo Bills. I can't say that it surprised me. I mean, this guy, he's a player of the people, to be entirely honest. And what I mean by that is that when he was tailgating with us at the United Bowl pregame, and he joined me on the show, it was just loads of fun. He looked and acted very comfortable. He would talk to anybody. And I know that there's going to be this huge difference between NFL, CFL, and NAL, IFL as far as the availability of players, the chance to interact with players. But, they're still players. They're still professional athletes. And there's still kind of that, hey, that's that guy. I know. He plays for that team. Like, there's still that feeling amongst fans at every level. There will always be sort of that separation between fan and player, no matter what level you play at. But I never take advantage, or I never, I always take advantage? I'm trying to think of what the right term is here for. But I never, squander an opportunity to interact with or get to know these players, because I know that they could be the guy that gets the call up to the next level that next week. That could have been the last time that they played indoor ball, or they're on to bigger and better things in some capacity. But these guys, it's always a treat to get to know them. And I want to thank Connor Hollenbeck again for taking the time to be on the show tonight and letting us talk about his recent signing with the Iowa Barnstormers. So free agency frenzy is off to a great start so far in the indoor leagues, and the meetings are taking place right now in Las Vegas, and we should have some full reports later on this week as far as things that came out of there. As of right now, it's an 8-team league, so we have the Iowa Barnstormers, the Sioux Falls Storm, the Arizona Rattlers, the Tucson Sugar Skulls, the Green Bay Blizzard, the Cedar Rapids River Kings, the Quad City Steamwheelers, and the Nebraska Danger. So those are your 8 teams as of right now. I thought maybe there would be 9 or 10 question marks around what's going to happen with the Idaho Horsemen and where Omaha would end up, or even Bismarck, and then what's going to happen with Bloomington. So there was a few other teams out there. I think an 8-team league is great. Even 10 would be fantastic, but I would like for them to not do conferences, though. There can still be like an East and a West, but I would like to see them still take the top 4 from each, into a playoff and do it that way. I think that really was, even if you disregard the Danger's poor record, it was still the best way to do that, because if it in previous years there's been that team with the lesser record that got in, as opposed to a team that played its ass off all year and they were just in the, they didn't get enough wins in their conference or whatever. I'd like to see them stick with the no conferences. Like, you can have conferences for scheduling purposes and for playoff purposes, but when it comes to who gets into the playoffs. If it's, all the teams from one side, then I guess it's all the teams from the one side. I guess at that point it would kind of be a moot point to have conferences, but there's got to be a way to do it, and of course there's going to be flaws with every method. Let's see here. Kamara, Goff, Mahomes, and Mac are my top 4 for MVP, but Mahomes is at the bottom of that list, and I don't know what it is about Mahomes that I don't like. I really don't. I just feel like he's turned into that guy for the NFL and sports media, and I hate it when they do that. I hate it when they pick their guy. Before the season started, it was Darnold. And that's all anybody could talk about. And now that he's on the Jets and they're not doing so well, and Baker Mayfield beat Sam Darnold with only a half of football to play, and Mahomes has gone 4-0, and Goff has gone 4-0. Now, Goff was the guy last season, but he didn't get the start until late. Or I take that back. He was kind of that guy 2 seasons ago, the whole Keenum thing, Jeff Fisher thing. But, with McVay now, they kind of share the spotlight. Mahomes, it's so funny to me to see an Andy Reid team go for it on 4th and inches, because I feel like this is not an Andy Reid team. Andy Reid would punt at like 4th and literally an inch to go, because he's that guy. Instead of trying to go for the win, he'd go for the tie. But this is a different Andy Reid, and I don't feel like it has really a whole lot to do with Mahomes. But hell, it could, really could. But if Mac and Kamara aren't your top picks for MVP right now, you're not watching the same football that everybody else is. You're watching what ESPN tells you to watch, and that's the quarterback. That's where the spotlight is. That's where the money is. They're going to point you in the direction of Pat Mahomes or Showtime Mahomes. And it's really annoying. It is, because Khalil Mack has been an absolute monster in Chicago. And yeah, Trubisky had himself a day last week, but there's no way that they're with 3 wins and 1 loss without the presence of Khalil Mack. It's a team sport, and probably one of the most team sports in all of team sports. But I have really had to eat my words when I've said that, one guy doesn't make a big difference. He does. Like, Mac is the difference maker for the Bears. I think Von Miller was for the longest time on the Broncos, and he still is. But if you can get yourself a Khalil Mack, it takes all the pressure off your offense to try to score last. You just have to score more. You don't need to score last. And that's where I think a lot of people confuse what it means to be the most valuable player, is that Mahomes is a guy that will score last. But Mac is a guy that will help it make sure that all you have to do is just score more. If there's 10 minutes left and you have a 3-point lead, you could punt 2 times in that and rest easy because your defense is out on that field. That's how I feel about Khalil Mack. So he's my front runner. If they snub him and give him Defensive Player of the Year, if he continues the way that he has this season, the first quarter of the season, the other 3 quarters of the season, and he only gets Defensive Player of the Year, Pat Mahomes or Jared Goff are going to have to pretty much like shit rainbows and pots of gold in order for me to think that they're more valuable than Khalil Mack. And Kamara's right up there with him. Now, Drew Brees is going to have probably the game of the season next Monday night, because he's only 200 and some odd yards away from breaking Peyton Manning's all-time passing yards record. And this is at home, Monday Night Football, Drew Brees. Kamara has been great, and he may catch a few, he may run a few, but this is going to be Drew Brees' night. I'm telling you right now, circle this one, because you will witness history, and it will be a spectacle. If I'm wrong, I don't even know, because I am that confident in telling you to tune into Monday Night Football. Turn it on mute, because the broadcasters are crap. They really are. A nutless monkey could do their job better. So we'll see what happens there. We will do our full Week 5 preview looks like Fan versus Fan Show Pick'em is actually going to be a guest from the world of indoor. Jose Jefferson will be my special guest Thursday. Tomorrow night, we have the man from Ice Wave. Mark is going to join us, and I know it hasn't aired yet as far as on the Science Channel, but man, what a fight they had this last week. There is one episode left. We will crown a new world champion in the world of combat robotics and battle bots, and it will not be repeat with Ray Billings. It will be one of 4. We are down to the final 4. We'll talk about that plenty tomorrow night, as well as recap this last episode, but I did want to make sure that I got through everything today as far as what happened over the weekend. It was a crazy weekend. Baseball playoffs are coming up. Hockey's about to start. I think, opening night, puck drop, is actually Thursday night. So tomorrow night we've got the BattleBot special, one of 2 left. That's right. The last one that we will have will be after it's all said and done. The founder, the creator, the man himself, Greg Munson, will come back. We spoke to him before the season started, and now we're going to talk to him again to get his thoughts on how he feels it all played out. And I'm very honored and privileged to have him return to the show. So mark your calendar for next Wednesday. That'll be the last BattleBot special we do. I'm honestly sad about it because you guys out there in the BattleBot world have been fantastic. Now, Farouk, of course, he'll probably stop by this season to talk some football. He always loves a chance to boast about his Eagles. So he'll probably be on. Maybe we'll have guys like Matt Spurk, some of those double dippers that are bot fighters as well as football fans. But it's bittersweet. We're going to crown a new champion, and then that's going to be it for the fan show and its coverage of season 3 of BattleBots, which there will be a big post. I got a couple of video segments and interviews left to still come out, so watch for those. Follow us on social media on Twitter and Facebook. It is @FanShowOfficial. And then Snapchat and Instagram, it is simply The Fan Show. And you can subscribe on iTunes, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, and Spotify if you can't listen live. But if you can, we're just asking for about 45, 50 minutes out of your night, 3 nights a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, which is the time that we will be back tomorrow night with an all-new episode. So give us a like, give us a follow, double tap and heart on some of our Instagram posts. And then, of course, check out thefanshow.com, which is the home base for all things football nonsense in all 5 of the Fan Show's divisions, including fantasy football waiver wire targets by Brandon, the fantasy guru himself, and then weekly recaps by Mr. Video Rich Bauer. And it's just a lot of fun. We've got a lot of stuff in the works. Eastern, they had another big win this weekend, and it was over Montana State. Cooper Kupp was in attendance since they had the Thursday night game, so he was able to go there and watch his brother play. So another great performance by them. They are 4-1, tied for 4th in the FCS, so that's good. Another win over a Big Sky opponent. So things look great for the Eagles right now. Fan Show is going to try to be out to as many games as they can, including maybe one against the North Idaho Vandals in North Idaho. So we'll see about that one. But up next for the Eagles is a matchup against Southern Utah. We'll see how that one goes. But that is going to do it for us here on this Tuesday night edition of the Fan Show. And I want to thank all of you once again for tuning in. If you listen to this on demand later, please give us a review on iTunes. Make sure that you like, share, love, laugh, all that good stuff. And then hit us up. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook about the October Breast Cancer Awareness Month merch. If you would like to participate in that, we'll let you know how. Go and get a hot towel shave and a quality haircut from Indy's Barbershop, 711 North Monroe Street, if you're in the Spokane or Pacific Northwest area. They are open today. It is Tuesday through Saturday, closed Sunday and Monday. If you say I heard about you on the Fan Show, they're going to give you 15% off. And for all of your merchandise needs, including everything beyond merchandise, just some knickknacks and other stuff, Dynamite Enterprises. Hit up Ethan at dynamiteenterprises.com. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, best of luck to you and yours. Go Niners, and remember, it's all fun and games until you bum fumble. Good night, folks.
Do you remember the time that Mark Sanchez ran into his own player's butt? That was funny sports.
Thank you for having me on the show, man. I love the Fan Show.